the home of our nation, of our Congress, although their residents are denied representation, but hey, at least they don't have to pay federal taxes. Oh wait, they do? Well, that's probably the last of the controversies of this city. Here, you can visit the many free museums, monuments, and memorials, eat through the eclectic food scene, and easily get active in the recently named most in shape area of the nation. This is Washington, D.C. Jacob here. Welcome to Destinations Explained, a fun series I do that dives into destinations from around the world. If you haven't already, like this video, watch till the end, and comment down below any places I missed. The history of, well, history. After arguing that the new federal government would need authority over a national capital in 1788, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and Thomas Jefferson agreed to pay each state's remaining Revolutionary War debts in exchange to establish the new United States capital. Formed from land donated by the states of Maryland and Virginia, the national capital's location was selected and signed into law by George Washington in July 1790. On September 9, 1791, the capital was named in honor of President George Washington, and a federal district was named after the female personification of the US. The British may have invaded and burned the capital during the War of 1812, but Washington bounced back. The outbreak of the American Civil War in 1861 led to the expansion of the federal government and notable growth of the district's population, including a large influx of freed slaves. The city's first motorized streetcars began service in 1888, which helped generate growth in the areas of the district beyond the city of Washington's original boundaries. Washington's plan was expanded throughout the district in the following decades. Later, increased federal spending as a result of the New Deal in the 1930s led to the construction of the new government buildings, memorials, and museums in the district. World War II further increased government activity. Thanks to the 23rd Amendment, D.C. was granted votes in the Electoral College for the election of president and vice president, and in 1973, the district was granted an elected mayor and 13-member council for the district. Today, D.C. has a population of around 700,000 people, with the metro area at over 6 million, the sixth largest in the US. D.C. has a minority-majority demographic and has had a significant African-American population since the city's foundation. However, that's decreasing due to gentrification that's more intense than any other US city. Weather-wise, summers are hot and humid with an average high temperature of 88 degrees Fahrenheit to an average low of 71 degrees Fahrenheit. Winters are cold and snowy with an average high of 44 degrees Fahrenheit and an average low of 30 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're trying to decide what time of year to go, I would say to aim for when the cherry blossoms bloom, typically around the last week of March into the first week of April. If you're familiar with the channel, you'd know that I use map animations to introduce each spot, but you may notice a lack of 3D modeling around, well, half the district. Now, I'm sure there's nothing to conspire about here, probably just someone slacking off at Google. Anyway, let's start the video off at our first tourist destination. I'm sure you're thinking it's obviously the White House or one of those monuments that we're probably heading to. Well, it's not, but we'll get there, I promise. Just east of downtown DC, what started in 1931 as a food market has expanded to not only food and drink merchants, but also a unique mix of shopping, dining, and entertainment. Union Market. This market is basically like a food hall, a farmer's market, and local small businesses had a baby. Some really weird baby. Union Market offers a diverse selection of food from Chesapeake Bay oysters to South Indian dosas. There's a New York-inspired soda shop, Buffalo and Bergen, that brings a new spin to old classics like egg creams, sodas, and cocktails. Another drink option would be Hylon, an open-air rooftop bar and green space with stunning 360-degree city views, creative draft cocktails, hosted picnics, lawn games, and outdoor music. Right next door to Union Market is La Cosecha, a contemporary marketplace offering shops, eats, and drinks celebrating centuries of Latin American heritage. If you save any room, make sure to stop in there for an empanada or my favorite, pupusas, the best thing to come out of El Salvador since, coffee. Not even 3 miles south of Union Market is, no, not the Lincoln Memorial, that's coming. It's a landscape green space with dancing fountains, trails for biking or walking, and grassy areas for picnicking. The Yards. Located on the Anacostia River, the Yards offers award-winning restaurants, craft breweries, and signature shops with riverfront views. In the Yards Park, you can cool off in the canal basin and waterfall on hot summer days, walk across the sculptural Yards Park Bridge, or enjoy beautiful river views from the overlook. If you're looking for a spot to grab a bite or drink, there's a lot of places to choose from. Here are a few I recommend. There's Albee. Chef and owner Michael Raffiti draws inspiration from his roots to bring a Levantine experience that melds the ancient culinary tradition of the region's coal-fired cuisine with local seasonal ingredients to hummus and meat and fish dishes. For something more affordable, head next door to the restaurant's sibling bakery and cafe, Yellow. For those of you that love a microbrewery as much as I do, I've got two words: Blue Jacket Brewery. Housed in a century-old former factory, this brewhouse offers an extensive food menu from burgers and sandwiches to wings and pasta. Lastly, there's DC's first operational commercial winery, District Winery. This modern wine cellar is a restaurant and bar, focusing on charcuterie and shared plates, and produces premium small batch wines, combining the quality of tradition with the freedom of innovation. Now you may be asking yourself, isn't this the tourist section? Why are you recommending so many restaurants? And when are you going to talk about the pointy marble thing? And to that, I say yes, shut up, and right now. Next is probably one of the top 3 tourist destinations of all the United States for Americans and foreigners alike. Each year, millions of tourists visit the country's memorials of the people and events that shaped the US as a nation, and they're all conveniently built in close proximity at the National Mall. Stretching from the Lincoln Memorial to the Capitol building, there's a lot of history to take in, so much that I can't even cover every attraction, so feel free to mention the ones I missed in the comments below. The Lincoln Memorial is probably one of the most recognizable structures. This Greek-inspired temple includes a 19-foot marble statue of a seated Lincoln, as well as inscriptions of 2 of his well-known speeches, and a reflection pool which reflects the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. The memorial itself was also the site of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial is dedicated to those who fought in the Vietnam War, and features 2 black granite walls engraved with over 58,000 names of dead and missing soldiers. The Korean War Veterans Memorial commemorates people who served in the war through lifelike statues, a mural wall, and a pool of remembrance. The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial covers 4 acres and includes the Stone of Hope, a powerful granite statue of civil rights movement leader Martin Luther King Jr. The World War II Memorial honors the 16 million Americans who served during World War II, consisting of 56 pillars representing the US states and territories. The Washington Monument is an obelisk in honor of the country's first president. Obviously, whoever's behind all these monuments were definitely obsessed with ancient Greek architecture. There's the United States Botanic Garden, a lush garden with sprawling grounds featuring exotic flora, plus a conservatory, rare plants gallery, and a butterfly garden. The United States Capitol, not to be confused with the White House, I'm talking to you first grade Jacob, is a domed classical building housing a bunch of senile politicians debating who can screw over our children's future faster. And of course, I can't forget the multitude of museums. Their names are pretty self-explanatory. I'll just list off some of the best ones. The National Museum of African American History and Culture, National Museum of American History, National Museum of Natural History, National Gallery of Art Sculpture Garden, National Museum of the American Indian, National Air and Space Museum, and the Holocaust Memorial Museum. Although not directly in the National Mall strip, you can branch off to visit the White House, FDR's Memorial, the National Archives Museum, and you can't forget the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. Although the monument itself is a beautiful columned rotunda in a style of Rome's Pantheon, I guess they thought honoring someone who's owned and impregnated slaves, then had those children also work for him, was enough to move his memorial off the beaten path. There's a National Mall walking trail that you can follow to take in most of these spots. But if you don't feel like walking 5 miles, then I recommend using the Capitol Bike Share service, which has multiple stations around the area and city. If you had to pick just one spot to go, I'd recommend you at least visit the Lincoln Memorial or any of the war museums and memorials. This next spot is one of my personal favorites when it comes to your typical DC activities. Located less than a mile from the White House, this free admission museum is home to artworks portraying influential Americans throughout history, the National Portrait Gallery. Founded in 1962 and part of the Smithsonian Institution, the museum is housed in the historic old patent office building. The museum's more notable art pieces include everyone from Benjamin Franklin to Alexander Hamilton and Frederick Douglass to Harriet Tubman. The famous Barack Obama's Hope poster and his fire oil painting by Kehinde Wiley hang in the museum as well. The spectacular glass-ceilinged courtyard serves as a light-filled sanctuary for weary tourists and a welcome place for families. The museum continues till this day to narrate the multifaceted and ever-changing story of America through the individuals who have shaped its culture. Every year, they honor a select few of individuals who have had a transformational impact on the nation's recent history, and you can actually go this November for a modest $2,500 a seat. It's a fancy gala, of course. I'll link the website down below if you're genuinely interested though. Heading a few minutes out of DC, across the Potomac River, and into Virginia, this historic burial ground has evolved from a place of necessity to a national shrine of those who have honorably served our nation during times of war and during times of peace. Arlington National Cemetery. The cemetery was established as the number of Civil War casualties were outpacing other local DC-based cemeteries. The graveyard is the final resting place for more than 400,000 active duty service members, veterans, and their families. Among the most frequently visited sites in a cemetery is the grave of President John F. Kennedy, which is marked with an eternal flame. JFK is one of the only 2 presidents buried at Arlington, the other being William Howard Taft. Most famous for, the most iconic memorial in the cemetery is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The white marble stone coffin stands atop a hill overlooking DC. Since 1921, it has provided the final resting place for one of America's unidentified World War I service members, and unknowns from later wars were added in 1958 and 1984. The tomb is dedicated to deceased U.S. service members whose remains have not been identified. The tomb is guarded 24/7 by soldiers of the United States Army who must undergo a strict selection process and intensive training. You can watch the changing of the guards or download the cemetery's app, which is probably the only cemetery that has an app in the world, to help you find specific grave sites or just to let you know about any events going on in a cemetery. Heading about 40 minutes west, near the Dulles Airport, we round out the tourist section at a museum that tells the story of human flight via exhibits of many actual aircraft and spacecraft. As one of the 2 Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museums, this location is a massive structure with open, hangar-like settings that accommodate our beloved man-made metal birds, as well as entire collections of aviation and space artifacts. Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center. Named after the immigrant from Hungary and co-founder of an aircraft leasing corporation that made the facility possible when he donated $65 million in October 1999 to the Smithsonian Institution. Hundreds of aircraft and spacecraft are on display in 2 massive hangars, including a Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, the Boeing B-29 Superfortress Enola Gay, and the Space Shuttle Discovery. There's exhibits where you can learn about human spaceflight, World War II aviation, vertical flight, and much more. There's also a restoration hangar where you can watch specialists reconstruct, repair, and preserve rare artifacts. You can experience simulators, watch movies in the IMAX, or take in a 360 view of the area in the observation tower. Although it's free to enter, there was a $15 parking fee last time we checked. Now let's head to the nature and recreational section of the video. You could start your outdoorsy day by grabbing a Reach-Tree in full from the soon-to-be mentioned Keren Café, or you could make a smarter choice with today's sponsor, Magic Spoon, a healthy cereal that tastes too good to be true. If you're like me, you check a second bag just to bring the world's best sugar-free cereal. I start my day off right with a bowl. The frosted flavor is my favorite. I may even just bring it with me to go on my adventure. No, Jacob, not like that. That's better. Click the link below to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code VENTURE at checkout to get $5 off any order. Or go to magicspoon.com/venture. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. So click the link below and use the code VENTURE for $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/venture to save $5 today. Now, back to the video. let's head to the Maryland-Virginia border to the Potomac River for the first nature spot. Around 15 miles from downtown DC lies this stretch of powerful rapids and waterfalls, with many hiking trails nearby and views on both Maryland and Virginia sides. Great Falls. The rocks of the falls date to the late Precambrian era and are about 750 million years old, or about the same age as Queen Elizabeth. On the Virginia side is Great Falls Park, which has the River, Ridge, CCT, and Swamp Trail. This 4.6 mile loop has almost 400 feet in elevation gain and lots of optional side trails. Side note, the visitor center is temporarily closed due to construction projects through spring of 2023. On the Maryland side is the Chesapeake and Ohio National Historic Park, which has the Goat Canal to Great Falls Overlook Trail. This 5.8 mile loop trail has 200 feet in elevation gain. There's a boulder section of the trail that can be pretty strenuous, so keep that in mind when you're trying to decide which trail to take. Both loops offer a nice workout and get equally as crowded, but it's good to know that the Great Falls Park has a $20 vehicle charge to enter, whereas the Chesapeake and Ohio National Historical Park is free. This isn't really like a Niagara Falls scenario where the Canada side's better than the American side. I'd say you get a pretty similar experience on either side, so pick your choice. Just south of the corner of the DC-Maryland border lies this large urban park created in 1890, making it the third ever established national park in US history. Along with nature and trails, this park has many recreational facilities such as a golf course, equestrian trails, a tennis stadium, a planetarium, and an amphitheater. Rock Creek Park. The main section of the park comprises just under 2,000 acres along the Rock Creek Valley. The park is home to the Pierce Mill, a water-powered grist mill that was built in the 1820s and was reopened in 2011. The mill typically runs demonstrations on the second and fourth Saturday of each month, April through October. Rock Creek Park Horse Center is located in the middle of the park and provides trail rides, pony rides, and lessons for the public, along with boarding for private horses. Looking for a trail to hike while at the park? I recommend the Western Ridge Trail. At just over 5 miles, this loop runs from north to south of the park and has an elevation gain of 715 feet. You can definitely spend a whole or half day at this park, so I'd recommend getting some lunch to go and bringing it with you. Established in 1927, this next spot is an outdoor space with trees, shrubs, and plants spread over 451 acres with 9.5 miles of winding roads connecting all the collections and features together. And it's all free to the public. United States National Arboretum. If you don't have the time to see everything, there's 2 separate trails throughout the Arboretum that you can take. The East Side Trail is a 2.7 mile loop with over 200 feet in elevation gain. Along the trail is the Conifer Collection, Holly and Magnolia section, the Asian collections, and more. But if you can only do one, I'd recommend the West Side Trail, which is a 2.6 mile loop with a 250-foot elevation gain and a whole lot more to offer along the trail. Starting with the National Grove of State Trees. This is a display of trees representing the 50 states and the District of Columbia. 51 plots are arrayed over 30 acres, each plot home to a grouping of a state's official tree species, or in a few cases, another species indigenous to the state but better suited to growing in their climate. There's also the National Capitol Columns, a set of 22 Corinthian columns which were once part of the east portico of the Capitol building from 1828 to 1958. Also along the West Trail is home to a pair of mated bald eagles, named Mr. President and the First Lady. The pair began nesting at the Arboretum in 2014. And we can't forget the National Bonsai and Penjing Museum, where you'll find a 390-year-old Japanese white pine bonsai. This tree, from Hiroshima, Japan, survived the 1945 atomic bombing. In other words, the Jack Bauer of all trees. If you're wanting to see it all and don't feel like walking everywhere, you can always rent a bike from Capital Bike Share, which actually has a station just outside the entrance. Located 40 miles outside of downtown DC in Fairfax Station, Virginia, is this public park surrounding a lake that's a stream of the Potomac River. This park was built on land that was purchased by the federal government in the 1950s for an international airport before the site of the Dulles Airport was chosen as the replacement. Burke Lake Park. The park is 888 acres and has so many recreational activities both on and off water. For kids, there's a carousel and a train that runs behind a miniature Central Pacific Huntington steam engine and makes a 2-mile run throughout the park for a 10-minute tour. There's fishing boats and kayaks available for rent, or you can take in the sights from a tour boat that operates on the weekends from April to October. If you're into golf, the park's got you covered, from mini golf to a par 3 18-hole disc golf course, a par 3 18-hole golf course, as well as a driving range and clubhouse. For those more into hiking, there's the Burke Lake Trail, which is a 4.8-mile loop around the whole lake, with only a little bit over 100 feet in elevation gain. To cool off after your hike, you can grab an ice cream, snack, or drink at the park's ice cream parlor, which runs between April and October. There's an entry fee per vehicle for all non-residents of Fairfax County, so just commit a Class 1 misdemeanor and make a fake ID. You'll save $10 and it'll totally be worth it. Our last nature spot is a 2-hour road trip from DC to Luray, Virginia, to this massive underground layer with 140-foot natural columns, colorful stalactites, and brick walkways. These caverns are the largest and most popular caverns in the eastern United States, to the point that they call themselves Geology's Hall of Fame, Luray Caverns. Take a tour of this registered natural landmark along well-lit and paved walkways, leading you to cathedral-sized rooms with ceilings 10 stories high, as well as towering stone formations and natural wonders at every turn. These enormous chambers are filled with gigantic stone columns and reflective pools of water. Towards the end of the caverns is the world's largest musical instrument, the Great Stalacpipe Organ. It literally makes stalactites sing by gently tapping them throughout 3 acres of the caverns. The price for admission also includes a tour of the Car and Carriage Caravan Museum, Toy Town Junction, and the Shenandoah Heritage Village. There's also a few other things you can do on site for an additional price, like visiting the largest hedge maze in the Mid-Atlantic states, or take on different levels of rope course challenges. On the way to and from the caverns, you'll pass Manassas National Battlefield Park, Shenandoah National Park, the charming town of Middleburg, and so much more. So if you have the time, definitely take a road trip to the neighboring state of Virginia. You'd be remiss not to. In the past few years, DC has really taken off as a top culinary city. From fine dining to no reservation restaurants with lines around the block, the food has become just as much a reason to visit as all the free museums and memorials. Starting casually in Capitol Hill, this popular pop-up that started in Buchert Saloon during the pandemic just opened a permanent shop in May, Fight Club. Yeah, this is a sandwich shop, but with a big personality. The menu is top tier, and as the chefs say, is only limited by their insanity. From a fried chicken sandwich served on maple pancakes instead of buns, to their take on a BLT that includes heirloom tomatoes, pistachio butter, and brown butter mayo. They also have snacks and sides such as their upgraded onion rings made with a golden ale batter and fermented chili powder, as well as half-smoked pups hush puppies and Mama D's crab imperial pretzel bites. Don't forget to check out their drink menu and come by for happy hour, which goes on at 3 different times throughout the day. This next food recommendation literally has everything. You can shop or grab a coffee while you wait for your table at this Cambodian/Taiwanese inspired restaurant, Maketto. It may seem like there's a lot going on, but everything from the menu to the layout is minimal. The space includes a mix of 2 buildings, a courtyard, a roof deck, and a catwalk connecting the different spaces together. The retail section of Maketto is a cultural mix of international sneakers, clothes, accessories, books, and magazines. On the first floor is a cafe and bakery, serving local coffee roasters and providing a full coffee bar experience, along with select pastries. The restaurant takes the flavors from Cambodia and Taiwanese cooking and makes it their own. Everything on their seasonal menus are just so damn good. I recommend getting as many plates as you can and sharing them with the table. To start, order the shrimp dumplings, scallion pancakes, or their leek bao buns. For entrees, you can go with any of their rice or noodle dishes, or go big with the Maketto fried chicken and a 5-spice caramel, or the spicy pork sausage lob and bone marrow. And if you're like me, you're definitely ending the meal with the mochi beignets, a combination of the 2 best powdered desserts, joined together to spew white crap all over your clothes. This literal hole-in-the-wall authentic Honduran spot located in Logan Circle brings a taste of home to DC's diverse community of Latin American residents. Benitos Place. Known for its large portions and affordable prices, the husband and wife team that owns Benitos Place really bring the commitment and pride to their dishes. They got pupusas, enchiladas, moles, fried plantains and yuca, tortas, fried chicken. I could keep going, but I haven't eaten yet and now I'm hungry. definitely try the baleadas, a Honduran classic, composed of a flour tortilla filled with beans, cheese, meat, and all your typical Central American fixings. This place is authentic, comforting Latin American food at its finest. It's not hard to find Eritrean or Ethiopian food in DC, as it's one of the top cities that the people of Africa's Horn call home in the US. My pick is this casual diner that appeals not only to expats, but locals alike. Serving authentic dishes from breakfast until dinner, we have Keren Café. Although the inside of Keren is small, the portions are large and the food never disappoints. So definitely come hungry. Almost all of their dishes are served with injera, a sour fermented pancake-like flatbread with a slightly spongy texture, which is a staple in Eritrean cuisine. Another popular choice is full, which is a stew of cooked fava beans served with olive oil, cumin, and other herbs and spices. There's just as many vegetarian options as there are spicy, meaty ones. If it's your first time trying Eritrean food, just ask the staff and they'll be more than willing to assist you. Next, let's move from an East African hole-in-the-wall eatery to this trendy North African and Mediterranean influenced spot just half a mile away, Maydan. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say hearth, because the first thing you'll notice when you walk into Maydan is the open fire kitchen in the middle of the restaurant, which is used to cook a variety of their menu items, from vegetables like eggplant and carrots to seafood like shrimp and sea bass. There's tables around the fire on the first floor or upstairs in a more intimate setting with a view of the fire from above. There's an a la carte menu available, but I suggest a prix fixe table menu that's served and to be enjoyed family style with bread and spreads, veggies and meats, and a dessert to round it out. Flatbreads with mahumara, hummus, and smoked mutable is a meal unto itself. But the ribeye and lamb shoulder are can't miss. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Maydan was issued a Michelin star back in 2019, and it definitely lives up to that title till this day. If you're looking for a place that serves breakfast, Argentinian bites, and Neapolitan pizza, I've got the place for you. It started as a mobile pizzeria in 2014 with a wood fire oven hauled by a baby blue 1967 Chevy truck, Timber Pizza Company. In 2016, their brick-and-mortar pizza shop in the Petworth neighborhood opened. The space is small with mostly communal tables and is walk-in only, no reservations. Grab a wood-fire biscuit, bagel, or breakfast empanada on Saturday or Sunday for breakfast, or for dinner, choose from a red, green, or white pizza and a meat or veggie empanada. I personally love the Bentley, a red pie with cured chorizo, sopressata, Peruvian sweet peppers, and spicy honey made with a little red fox hot sauce. Their hours are really odd and unconventional. It's probably where 90% of their negative reviews come from, so just keep an eye out for that. Most coffee places have your typical drink menu with a few pastries to pick on and maybe a few tables for you to work from. But here it's a little different. In the center of the Adams Morgan neighborhood is this coffee house known for its comfy couches and serving 2 animal crackers with each drink, Tryst. Tryst's motto is no corporate coffee, no matching silverware, and with an extensive menu of brunch, lunch, and dessert options to eat, and coffee, tea, beer, and cocktails to drink, they really create an environment that you can hang out in all day. They also have monthly changing art exhibits and live music being performed within the shop. Grab a coffee or cocktail, nestle into a couch alone or with friends, get some work done, or play with one of the shop's board games. For dessert, we head to this authentic, hole-in-the-wall coffee house and bakery in Georgetown. With more glass jar-filled and glass dome-covered desserts than seats to enjoy from, it's baked and wired. Here you can grab one of their small batch baked goods like bars and brownies, or arguably one of the city's best cupcakes. Coffee is also offered and crafted by trained baristas. Every 2 weeks, they release a new pour-over menu so you can try some of their seasonal coffee offerings. On your way out, definitely grab a bag of their signature granola called Hippie Crack to snack on during the rest of your trip, or bring it home to share with your people, especially the little ones. Boy, do those kids love crack. Before we move on, I got the best foodie from DC to share their best recommendations around town. Today, we have Alex from @DevourDC on Instagram, so let's see what they have to recommend. Hey Alex, how's it going today?
Going well, Jacob. Thanks for having me.
We are on the restaurant section of the video, and we're looking for some good hidden gems in DC. Can you help us out today?
Absolutely. Well, there's plenty of those. I think when people come into DC or visit DC or think about DC, they think about, the National Mall, lawyers, people in stuffy suits, things like that. But once you break out of that boundary, you can find so many fantastic, locally owned family spots in the city. And so that's what I've been doing for the past couple of years, and it's been amazing. Some of my favorites, I'll start with Kita Spot, which is a small family owned, technically it's a coffee shop. It has a bodega feel because they serve a bunch of breakfast items, lunch, they do dinner, and it's very much like that hole in the wall type vibe when you get there. But as soon as you step in the door, you immediately are greeted. It's like an Ethiopian family, and so they have this Ethiopian spin on almost all of their dishes. Their breakfast is fantastic. If you do get breakfast there, do not skimp on the green, their special green sauce. Make sure you put that on everything. It's fantastic. So if you're looking for something a little bit like a step up, a few months ago, went to Swahili Village. It's in downtown DC, and it's fine dining African, mostly Kenyan food, which I've never really had before at a restaurant in DC, so it was surprising to see. It does feel like a hidden gem because it's in a basement of a commercial office building, and you go down and you're wondering what you're going to see, and it's just a party underground. There's live DJs every so often. The staff is so friendly, so nice, but the most stellar part to me is the food. Everything that I've had there has been one of the best things that I think I've ever tasted, and it's all been brand new to me too. They do such a great job at hosting large gatherings. There was a belly dancer there last time we were there. It was really, really fun. And if you're really looking to impress a date or a small group of friends, I would recommend checking out Duck Duck Goose. It's a relatively new French restaurant in DuPont Circle on P Street. It's gorgeous on the inside and out. It's kind of what you think about when you think about a nice French restaurant. I wouldn't say it's as posh because they really do make you feel very comfortable if you aren't sure what some dishes are, as is the case with, at least for me with French food. And it's small plates with local seasonal ingredients, so the menu is always changing. The chef is absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of modern Parisian influences on a lot of their dishes. And they also have casual happy hours at the bar, which is also stunning.
All right, Alex, those are 3 amazing spots. So thanks again for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
After being closed over 2 years due to the pandemic, our first nightlife spot has just reopened this April. This craft beer bar, which originally opened in 2009, helped put DC's current beer scene on the map. ChurchKey. Located above the Birch and Barley restaurant on 14th Street near Logan Circle, this bar has made itself a top destination for beer on the East Coast with 50 temp-controlled drafts, cask ales, side pull lagers, and nearly 500 selected bottles and cans from around the globe to choose from. The staff has a deep knowledge and talent to share recommendations and details about all of the selections. If you're going with someone who isn't a fan of beer, there's also wine and cocktail options and a food menu. I recommend you grab a rare or limited release brew, tater tots to dip in their ranched up blue cheese, and snag a seat by the window for some people watching. Next, we head to DC's only Middle Eastern bar. Maybe you've never been to a Middle Eastern bar. Maybe you don't even know what that means. Here, they serve craft cocktails with Middle Eastern flavors and Middle Eastern eats to go with them. The Green Zone. Named after the international zone in Baghdad, Green Zone is a way to denote that this is a safe space for people to be themselves. It started as a pop-up bar in a kitchen off 14th Street for 4 years, before opening its own 2-story brick and mortar in 2018. With roughly 30 seats on both levels, each floor gives off a different vibe. The downstairs is more of a bar lounge feel, with the upstairs being more of a club with global DJs and a queer Arab aesthetic. You know, the stuff you see almost anywhere. Also, you can't go wrong with any of the dishes on a Lebanese-inspired menu, like hummus, falafel, and Arabic seasoned wings. As for drinks, choose from one of their cheekily named cocktails made with ingredients like cardamom, pistachios, pomegranate, and a rocky citrus. Their most popular drink, mint or cucumber lemonade, is non-alcoholic, but can also be made with booze. If you want to do it right, get a pour of Johnny Walker Black, also known as the second currency of the Middle East. If you know, you know. From beer to cocktails and now to wine. But this isn't your typical swirl, sniff, sip wine spot. This is a neighborhood wine garden and cocktail bar housed in a trio of 1920s era row houses that have been combined into one large space, St. Vincent Wine. With 3 different tiers of prices for bottled wine, you can browse and grab a bottle, or 2 or 3, and enjoy them outside in the garden while listening to nightly live jazz and funk music by local bands. There's also a cocktail bar located upstairs, as well as a pantry section inside where you can buy honeys and jams to take home. As for food, the menu may be limited, but they do brunch on weekends and have small plates, pasta, and mains during the week. However, the fan favorite would be the charcuterie board. Not only do they have pre-made selections, but you can also make your own. If you don't want to pick up a bottle from inside, you can always order from your table outside, and the staff will bring you bottles, ice buckets, and glasses right to your table. You privileged, lazy piece of shit. Although this next spot specializes in artisan cider, it also has beer, wine, and liquor totaling over 100 options. You can choose from an upstairs dining room, an inside bar, or the outside cider garden to enjoy all the options. Brightwood Pizza and Bottle. Formerly known as Ankso Cidery and Pinkstos Bar? Yeah, good calling it a name change. Brightwood has a large selection and variety of ciders and beers in both cans and bottles. You can also get cocktails served in a Perron, a glass pitcher that you can use to pour into a cup or directly into your mouth. The main food draw would be the Neapolitan-style pizza, utilizing a wider range of unique toppings like the Hangover Pizza that has goat cheese, an egg, jamon serrano, spicy Fresno chili, maple drizzle, and more. They also have cheese, charcuterie, and other small plates to share. All dine-in payments include a 22% service charge, so there's no need to leave gratuity, as their staff is paid full wages and isn't forced to live with 5 other roommates in a 600 square foot apartment. Lastly, what do you get when you come across 2 homebrewers, a bourbon lover, and the love of community? This microbrewery opened in a converted auto garage in Hyattsville, Maryland in 2018. Being deaf-owned and operated, this is the first brewery of its kind on the East Coast. Streetcar 82 Brewing Company. It's named after the Streetcar 82 line that ran from downtown DC and along Rhode Island Avenue from 1888 to 1958, a route that the owners learned would pass all 3 of their homes if it was still running today. Neat! Offering flights, pints, and growlers to go, their brews vary from their flagship New England IPA Fancy Nancy to their coffee stout Livin' the High Life, with sours, seltzers, and many more options. With seating inside and many picnic benches outside, this community-driven brewery is the perfect spot to end our list. Now, I know we just had on the best DC foodie, but I actually got a hold of the best DC drinky, bar-y, nightlifey. I don't know what you call like the foodie of the nightlife scene, but I got the guy. Today, we have Bruce from @DrinksInTheDistrict on Instagram. So let's have them finish off this list. Hey Bruce, how's it going today?
What's going on, Jacob?
Cool, man. I'm at the end of the bar nightlife section and we need some good suggestions. What do you do in DC at night? What do you have?
All right, well, you came to the right guy. I run Drinks in the District here in DC, and essentially I drink so you don't have to. So I show people where to go drink, whether you want to have a nice cocktail somewhere or hit the club and just completely lose your mind and your wallet. So if you just want to have like a good cocktail in DC, highly recommend 2 places, just great starting points. One is Server's Bar. It's technically the best bar in DC because it was voted the 18th best bar in North America, but it's really good. It has the best espresso martini you'll ever have in your life. And they have fried chicken sandwiches. It's really a place that people in the service industry go, but anyone can go there too. You wouldn't know about it unless I told you. But yeah, go there even if you're late and you had a few. Great spot. Another one is going to be O.K.P.B. This is my personal number one. These guys are complete nerds about cocktails. They got the whole overalls, the music, the dim lights, like the whole aesthetic, and it's hidden above a dentist's office in Mount Pleasant in DC, which is like this quaint little Hispanic neighborhood. So that's my personal favorite. So both those spots are like great kind of cocktail recommendations to get your night started, or if you're not into the going out. But if you are going out, these are just easy ones that you might like. The first one is Echostage, which was voted like number 1 club on the East Coast. People like, David Guetta, Tiesto, all the big DJs, they go there. But if that's not your vibe, you can always check out something more cool and underground, which I recommend is this place called Flash. And honestly, they probably don't want me talking about it. Like, they think they're that cool. Videos I've made on them that went like super viral, they asked me to take them down. Like, they really don't want you to know about it, but I'm telling you. Got you, Jacob, don't worry. Flash is cool. It's like house, it's tech house, deep house. But what I would highly recommend is, of course, that late night. But they have a Saturday day party that is at sunset, which is just out of this world, thrown by my homies, New Androids. But I digress. If you're trying to really turn up and you want to hit like a club, you know, a proper club, not like a house club or a Joe cocktail bar, I got a few recommendations for you. First off, it's going to be 12 after 12. They're a really awesome club. They got different rooms with different vibes. Of course, it's house music because that's like the dominant thing. It's really cool. It's on like a big party block. You can't go wrong there. Next one is going to be Zebbies, literally across the street. It's got more of like a Miami rooftop vibe to it. A little more grown and sexy if you're into that, but still a club. And then my last two will be, of course, if you're into more rap, I'd recommend St. Yves or Abigail. They're kind of similar, kind of in the same block. St. Yves being a little more higher end, Abigail being a little more just, you don't have to dress as fancy kind of thing, you know? And if you want to know more, you can always follow me at Drinks and District or TikTok and Instagram. Hope you appreciated my rant right there. I kind of went off a little bit.
It was perfect. You killed it.
Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
So there you have it. Some only know Washington, D.C. as the country's capital with lots of monuments and history, but hopefully through this video, you see that while the monuments are cool and all that, there's also no shortage of nature, food options, and a great nightlife. I make surveys here on YouTube to let you the people pick the next city, so subscribe and keep an eye out for the next one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video, and while you're at it, comment down below which city I should cover next.